5:30, and we do have quorum, so I will call this meeting of the Madison Plan Commission for February 5th, 2024 to order. First, we will have some information from our technical facilitator.
All right, welcome to our virtual Plan Commission meeting. We're going to cover a few basic items before beginning. If you lose connection at any point during the meeting, you can reconnect by clicking on the link or calling the number in your original email. To members and city staff members, if you are able, please activate your video and keep it on for the duration of the meeting. Staff, if you are able, please activate your video when you are speaking. Use the raise hand feature when you'd like to be recognized to speak or ask questions. Staff, use the raise hand when you are asked a question. The chair will do the best to call committee members in the order in which their hands are raised. Lowering your hand will take you out of the queue. Members of the public who have registered to speak, the name you entered in Zoom must match the name you entered in registration. You will remain muted until called upon. The clerk will tell you when your time is up. After all register and speak, a member of the body may ask you a question. If you need to share documentation with the commission, please send it to the email listed in today's agenda. Chair, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Jesse. Next, we have agenda item 1, General Plan Commission public comment. I don't believe we have any public comment. Is that still correct? All right. Next, we'll go to disclosures and recusals. Members of the Plan Commission should make any disclosures and recusals under the city's ethics code. Do we have any disclosures or recusals? Commissioner Mendez.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I'd like to disclose for agenda item 5. I work for UW-Madison, but that will not sway my vote in any manner.
Thank you, Commissioner. And Alder Field?
Thank you, Chair. Similar to the previous speaker, I work for UW-Madison, and that will not impact my vote on that item, number 5.
Thank you, Alder. Commissioner McCahill?
Same disclosure here. I also work for the university, and it will not impact my decision.
Thank you so much. All right, moving on, we have the minutes of the January 22nd, 2024 regular meeting. Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes? Seeing none, is there a motion to approve? Moved by Commissioner Mendez, seconded by Alder Field. Is there any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, we will come to a vote, and I will assume unanimous consent unless I see a raised hand to object. Seeing no raised hands, the motion passes unanimously. Next, we have the schedule of meetings. We have regular meetings on February 26th, March 11th, and March 25th at 5:30 p.m. All of these are virtual. And we have a special meeting on Thursday, March 14th at 5 p.m. in person at the Madison Municipal Building. Next, we have the consent agenda. It has been the custom of the Plan Commission to remove from the agenda those items which staff to believe the applicant has been sufficiently reviewed to support approval with all of the conditions placed on it by the various city departments, and in which the applicant accepts those conditions and there are no individuals who have registered to speak in opposition to those items. So the items that we have up on the screen for the consent agenda tonight are item 2, item 3, item 5, item 6 and 7 to be referred to the February 26th meeting, and items 8 and 9. Is there any request for separation? Otherwise, I will read those into the record. Okay, seeing none, I will read those in. Item 2, Legistar 81593, amending the 2024 capital budget of engineering major streets and determining the public purpose and necessity and adopting a relocation order for the acquisition and release of land interests required for the construction and maintenance of improvements for a public street, District 12. Item 3, Legistar 81632, endorsing and prioritizing improvement of pedestrian and bicycle connectivity as part of the Wisconsin DOT I-39 9094 study and reconstruction. Item 5, Legistar 81315, amending section 28 of the Madison General Ordinances to amend the Campus Institutional District Master Plan for the University of Wisconsin-Madison campus for the portion of the campus generally addressed as 1410 to 1550 and 1415 Engineering Drive and 1509 to 1513 University Avenue to include specific plans for the College of Engineering, District 5. For referral, we have item 6, Legistar 78634, 139 West Wilson Street. Consideration of a demo permit. Also for referral is item 7, 78635, 139 West Wilson Street. Condition of a conditional use in the UMX district for a multifamily dwelling units, consideration of a conditional use in the UMX, for projections into the Capitol View Preservation limit, all to construct a 16-story apartment building with 320 units. Back to consent, we have item 8, Legistar 81079, 531 West Mifflin Street, District 4, consideration of a demolition permit to demolish a single-family residence. And item 9, Legistar 81080, 531 West Mifflin Street, District 4, consideration of a conditional use in the DR2 district for a residential building complex containing a 4-unit apartment building and a single-family residence, and consideration of a conditional use to reduce the rear yard setback requirements for the residential building complex. Do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda? Moved by Commissioner Mendez, seconded by Commissioner Spencer. And I will assume unanimous consent unless I see a raised hand to object. Consent agenda passes unanimously. Okay, so we will move on to our full agenda, going back to agenda item 4, Legistar 77936, 5048 Thorson Road, Town of Sun Prairie, consideration of a certified survey map within the city's extraterritorial jurisdiction to create 2 residential lots. This is coming back to us from a prior meeting. We heard it. I believe Tim is going to give us just a quick recap to refresh our memories for the public hearing.
Sure thing. Oops. Members of the Plan Commission will remember on January 22nd, we had this certified survey map before us, located on the easterly side of Thorson Road, in the town of Sun Prairie, just over the border between the town of Burke and the town of Sun Prairie, with the city of Madison just across the road. And just for reference here again are the locator maps showing the relationship between the property, the current city limits, and also the boundary between the 2 townships. Mr. Ziegler, the applicant for the proposed land division, would like to create a 5.13 acre lot out of the roughly 24 acre parcel that exists now, as noted in the January 8th staff report. The property was previously divided in 2022 to create this roughly 2 acre lot in the, we'll say, adjacent to proposed lot 2. Staff has reviewed the extraterritorial land division against the criteria in the subdivision regulations and believe that it may not meet the condition or the standards for approval. When looking at a land division or subdivision in our extraterritorial jurisdiction, the city and the Plan Commission in this case are asked to consider whether the proposed land division continues a development pattern that exists in the area, considering lot sizes, orientation, things of that nature. And the Plan Commission's also asked to consider the potential impacts that the land division could have on the city's ability to accomplish future annexations or the ability to extend future services to the parcels created. The city of Madison does not have an intergovernmental agreement or a cooperative plan with the town of Sun Prairie. And so any future annexations here will be done at the behest of the property owner or owners. And so when we look at these lots, we consider, what the potential future impacts could be to accomplish annexations and to extend services, considering, that if one of these lots chooses not to annex, it could have an impact on annexation development, providing services to the other lot and other parcels in the surrounding area. As noted in the January 8th staff report, there is a however in this case, and it would note that while the city limits are nearby or proximate, give or take a few feet of right of way to the property, the likelihood that urban services will be extended to this area in the near future or the foreseeable future is somewhat remote. Urban services are not proximate to the property, and it could be some period of time into the future that we would have services to this property where we would actually have those impacts on annexations and service extensions really before the city. The likelihood that it will be our successors, both as staff and as members of the Plan Commission, is relatively good. So it does not appear to meet the criteria for approval. However, the immediate implications, if these two lots were to be created, are probably pretty low, given the distance between the site and services. With that, I will answer questions that the commission has after the public hearing. Thank you.
Thank you, Tim. We do have at least two registrants, so I will open the public hearing. Heather, can you read the registrants into the record?
Absolutely. First registrant is Gary Ziegler of North Bristol Street in support. Gary, you have 3 minutes.
Well, there's no person in attendance by that name.
Chris Kaysen from Berencott Survey is the other registrant. I believe he's available to answer questions.
Okay. Are there any questions? Oh, Chris Kaysen raised their hand to speak. Now they are lowered. Are there any questions of the registrants? Vice President Figueroa Cole.
I'm sorry, not of the registrants. I have questions for staff. Thank you.
Okay. Are there any questions of the registrant? Commissioner Heck.
Thanks. I just thought I'd ask Chris Kaysen, since he's representing the applicant, if he can provide any information as to why he might think this needs to be approved by Plan Commission, despite the fact that, as staff has pointed out, there are some issues with the request.
Can you hear me? Oh.
Yes.
Oh, you can. Okay, we had kind of some different circumstances. I have Gary Ziegler with me, so sorry for the confusion. He didn't have access to a Zoom meeting, so we kind of are sharing one. So when I registered, I wasn't able to be at a separate computer, so we're using the same computer. So if you want Gary to speak first, let me know. I don't know if it's possible to do it all together here.
Yes, you could both speak. You'd have a combined 6 minutes.
Okay.
If you'd like to start.
Well, Gary, do you want to start off?
Yeah.
You guys wanted to hear Gary first, so I'll let him go.
Okay, thank you.
First of all, the other lady there has my address. It's something different than what it is. I'm at 5048 Thorson Road, Sun Prairie, not the other address.
Thank you. You
Okay.
can continue.
And here today, like I say, Chris, I don't have access to any of this computer stuff like that. I don't know anything about it. So Chris was good enough to let me come to his office and speak about this. The lot that you referred to before is 2 acres, was only 0.09 acres. It was nowhere near the 2 acres that, I don't know how that got confused. But anyway, the reason I'm trying to do this is I'm 62 years old. I'm on disability. My health is failing. Just looking to get some income coming in. I might not sell this 5-acre piece. I might sell the rest of it off and build here on this one instead. I don't really know what I'm gonna do with it yet, but that's in the process of trying to figure out what I can do and get this approved to go on. I've got all the blessings from the town of Sun Prairie. I've had zero problem with them. We did all the certified surveys, the set asides, everything has been done. And I'm just confused on why there would be a problem with me doing this, because I'm not in the, I know I'm close to the city of Madison, but I'm not in the city of Madison. And there's no future plans there at this time. By now, and probably by the time you do, I probably won't be here. I don't know. It's hard to say, but I'm just looking to get some income. I'm on disability. Money is tight. Prices are going up, and just I'm trying to get this survey approved so that if I do decide to sell it or sell the other 19 acres, I have a place to go and can survive.
Thank you. Do you have anything to add, Chris, to that?
I mean, a little just to kind of build off, I forget who asked the question. Excuse me for not remembering. Kind of the questions of why I thought this might be approved, I think was the question. It's kind of a tricky area. You know, we understand there's a lot of extraterritorial jurisdictions. You've got towns opting out, you've got a township, you got Madison, you got the county, a lot of convolution going on. And, you know, when I put this together, when Gary came to us, you know, my idea was kind of on the fence a little bit, didn't think that it might be an issue, even though Madison being so close. You know, we tried to do everything that we could, you know, give proper frontage. I do take into account development plans that Madison has. You know, trying to keep up with that is a little hard to do, but we do our very best for you guys to do that. Yes, the configuration probably isn't the best for you guys, but it's got the access. It's you know, given the circumstances of what Gary's going through, I said this is probably the best alternative here to leave bigger portions of land. Possibly there was the possibility that he might move himself to this large acre and leave the 19 acres or the 18.9, you know, down the road for future to hopefully meet whatever development plan you guys were going for. There is some, you know, quite a bit of frontage along the front. You got the 66 feet, you know, plus I think there was, you know, roughly 200 feet more possibly of frontage there that allows access into that big piece. I know the configurations, but there was no development plan for Madison on this. And that's kind of why we kept it moving forward.
Thank you, Chris. Are there any further questions for the registrants?
Nicole, I have one more question. I'm going to ask staff about this when the time comes for us to ask questions of staff, but Chris, you might be the one to answer this. I'm not sure, but
sure.
Is it possible to make the lot to the south bigger by moving the property line to the north, the division to the north? If I don't know if that would allay some of staff's concerns, but I'm just wondering. I mean, I know you took the typical width of a right of way to come up with that 66 feet, I assume. Could you move it some to the north? I don't know if that will allay some of the concerns, but what was the logic behind that?
I think the logic was, you know, trying to keep everybody's best interests with the existing driveway. That's why we kind of left it there. If we were going to have an easement, we were going to try to utilize the easement as an access easement to kind of split it and keep the maintenance together with it.
I see. Yeah.
I think they're possibly, I'd have to talk to Gary a little bit on it, but I don't think there's anything restricting it to be moved north. We just kind of made sure that we had the access, the distances for the minimal access.
I did see that blacktop drive in the overhead pictures. So I see what you're saying.
That's really the driving force of where I kept it.
Okay. All right. Thanks for your answers. Those were my questions.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Commissioner. Are there any other questions for the registrants? Seeing none, I will close the public hearing and we'll do questions for staff. Commissioner Heck.
Thanks. As you can see, I've taken a strange interest in this. Tim, what did you think about my question and the answer with respect to moving it? Would that change anything because of having more frontage for the L-shaped parcel, or would it kind of be the same problems as you see it?
It's a good question, and it's I think that having the 66 feet, and I'm not as familiar with the town of Sun Prairie's zoning regulations and subdivision regulations, as Chris Kaysen pointed out, the town of Sun Prairie opted out of Dane County zoning. I know that Dane County zoning and their subdivision rules require 66 feet of frontage on a public road for new lots, and I'm guessing that the town of Sun Prairie has a similar regulation, 66 being that magic number for minimum right-of-way widths in a lot of situations, not governed by complete green streets in the city of Madison. I think having at least that amount of frontage for lot 2 is good. I think one of the things, and it's pointed out in the report, that was also a concern, was the fact that proposed lot 1 kind of has a dog leg that runs east of lot 2. That I think would potentially become a bit of a burden on the ability to develop lot 1 in the future. Just pulling that back up for the benefit of the commission and those watching along at home. So this portion here is part of lot 1. The lines get a little convoluted, but lot 2 is really just this panhandle here. It might be a better or less worse lot configuration for lot 2 if it extended all the way to the eastern edge of Mr. Ziegler's property. I think, just as a general rule, and kind of to bring things up to a higher level, the reason why we're concerned about extraterritorial subdivisions and land divisions is the city's ability to grow, the ability for parcels to develop in the future usually favors bigger parcels. And when they get divided into smaller configurations, when we see new development patterns forming, like a panhandled lot, like lot 2 is proposed to be, that becomes a concern to us about how the request conforms to the criteria that are in our ordinances, because we are concerned about when we break these big, in this case 24 give or take acres of land into 2, what impact that's going to have now that we have 2 properties, 2 property owners that we'll have to contend with in the future if the property is ever to develop on urban services in the city of Madison, recognizing again or acknowledging again that could be many, many years off into the future. So I think that there's ways to make lot 2 a little less objectionable. And so, yeah, I think maybe a little more lot width. They don't have a lot to play with because of, no pun intended, because of there only being this limited amount along the eastern edge of Thorson Road. The fact that Mr. Ziegler also has a little bit of the town of Burke frontage, it's so de minimis, it's not going to make a big difference, and it's kind of outside the boundaries literally of the CSM. But I think that, a little more lot width, or splitting the lot width a little more equally, and perhaps getting rid of the dog leg east of lot 2 could make the CSM less objectionable.
Okay, thank you. That was really helpful. One more quick question. Your point in your staff report about the fact that this plan commission and even this version of staff may not ever have to deal with this because of the fact it may be quite a few years before this would cause a problem, if it would. Your point is that it'd be in my mind kicking the can down the road a little bit, and you're saying, or is what you're saying that it might be okay to kick the can down the road because who knows what subdivision regulations or what will be going on with annexations and intergovernment agreements, all of those things could be different. So it's not just kicking the can down the road. Is that a good way of characterizing what you said?
It would basically be, in this case, the Plan Commission finding that I think the development pattern question is still out there, but I think that the Plan Commission could find that they don't believe that the proposed land division would have a negative impact on the city's ability to accomplish future annexations or extend services, given the uncertainty that exists about what a development pattern out here will look like, whether there will ever be annexations into the town of Sun Prairie. Currently, we do not have any land in the city of Madison that is within the town of Sun Prairie's boundaries. So it's basically acknowledging that there are things we know we don't know, and that those things shouldn't impede the ability to approve this land division at this time. And there's lots of history. We've been approving extraterritorial land divisions for, I believe, close to 60 years. And we have instances that come up now where the property was created by a CSM 30 or 40 years ago, and the property is still not in the city of Madison, may or may not be served by or able to be served by city services, most notably water and sewer. So we're basically trying to preserve our long game in terms of whether we'll grow into this area. So, yeah.
Okay, thank you. That was helpful.
Thank you, Commissioner. Vice President Figueroa Cole.
Thank you. Tim, so I had to do some digging on this one, look through Legistar via the address, and I found some prior heads on this particular address with some slightly close addresses related to the same property. Can you speak on regards to, can you please clarify for me, is this a brand new request? Has there been more requests in the past? Can you give me a little bit of history on those processes?
Sure. About 4 years ago, Mr. Ziegler was before the Plan Commission to divide the then 25.1 acre parcel, also addressed as 5048 Thorson Road, 5048 Thorson Road being the address of the residence that's in the northeastern corner of the property. And Mr. Ziegler's correct. I overstated the size of the property before. It's a 40,303 square foot lot on Thorson Road that was back before the Plan Commission in August of 2021 for reapproval. That land division was ultimately recorded on January 21st, 2022. And that was, pull it back up just for having a visual. Dramatic zoom. It was this parcel right here that I'm trying to highlight with my cursor. Lot 2 of CSM 15912. The parcel that we're dividing today is Lot 1 of CSM 15912. And so there is some history. I think with the earlier certified survey map, the Plan Commission found that given these two adjacent lots of similar size to the one that was created and recorded in 2022, that land division was not objectionable. It continued a development pattern. It created a relatively small lot that we don't think would impact the city's ability to annex, to extend services versus the lot that's before you now, which is 5 times the size and not right up on the road and not necessarily consistent with the development pattern that existed. So these two lots here, this CSM lot and this unplatted land being basically the same size as the lot that Mr. Ziegler created about 2 years ago, that was considered to be okay. This one now, clearly, based on the staff recommendation, we're not sure.
Thank you for that clarification. Way easier than me trying to figure out. And then based on the answers that you provide, Commissioner Heck, there sounds like there might be some room for alterations of what they asked for, maybe? To make
Yes,
this less, okay, thank you.
I don't want to speak for Commissioner Heck, but I think that his line of questioning pointed to whether there might be some adjustments that would make the land division less objectionable.
Yeah, okay, well, thank you, that's all I got for now.
Thank you. Commissioner Mendez.
Yeah. So Tim, on the map, it shows that little L-shaped portion behind the panhandle as part of the conservancy easement. Does that impact going across it? Like, kind of the recommendation to score off that lot? Yeah.
To be honest, I think it would potentially be okay. The conservation easement would run with the property regardless of the lot. So I believe that there's a separately described area. I would actually have to defer to Mr. Ziegler and Mr. Kaysen to clarify that. That was something that the town of Sun Prairie, I believe, required with the previous certified survey map of the property. However, I don't think it being in a conservation easement, if the line was to be drawn straight across, that would necessarily interrupt anything. It would just mean that there were two property owners that were subject to that restriction instead of just one.
So, I mean, to me, I'm sure I probably should ask this question, but it looks like they're making that little odd shape to take away that challenge from lot 2. So it makes it a little bit easier to develop and not have an extra acre or two of conservancy to worry about. With just, to me, that doesn't seem like that big of a deal, but because it's not square is kind of the worry, right? Or not a decent size and all that, as you mentioned.
Well, I think as far as we're concerned, and again, a fair point that Mr. Kaysen made that is noted in the staff report, but was not part of my summary earlier this evening. The city does not have an adopted neighborhood development plan for this area at this time. The Northeast Neighborhoods Development Plan stops at Thorson Road. This area is just outside the boundaries of the recently adopted Reiner Neighborhood Development Plan. So we don't have a plan for where future streets would go on these Ziegler parcels. To really know how that conservation easement would be affected or how it will affect a development pattern that we would put in a neighborhood development plan, because I think we're probably some years away from even doing a plan for this area. It is in a peripheral development area in the comprehensive plan. But this is one of those areas that we're preserving, our interests for the long term. The long term being, measured in decades in likelihood by the time we're actually talking about an urban development pattern getting to this property. Planning will probably happen much sooner than actual development and extension of utilities. So kind of hard to know exactly, but having square or cleaner parcels would probably help with plan implementation in the future.
Thank you.
Any other questions of staff? Seeing none, I'd be looking for a motion. Commissioner Mendez.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I move to approve agenda item 4, Legistar 77936, 5048 Thornton Road, for consideration of a certified survey map within the city's extraterritorial jurisdiction. I'm sorry, to create 2 residential lots.
Do we have a second? Do we have a second? Commissioner McCahill with the second. Commissioner Mendez, would you like to speak to your motion?
Sure. I appreciate staff's comments and the work they put into this. Since Sun Prairie approved it, and since we do not have any plans within the most recent plans the city has done in that area, is why I'm supporting this CSM. Thank you.
Thank you. Discussion on the motion. Vice President Figueroa Cole.
I actually would like for the applicant to go back to staff and try to work out the consensus on a better line cutoff. So I wouldn't be supporting this motion. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Commissioner Heck.
Thank you. I appreciate Commissioner Mendez's motion and reasoning, but I also won't be supporting this. I think it's important to set ourselves up for the distant future as well as the near future for these types of lot divisions. I too hope that a better proposal can come forth, so I won't be supporting this.
Thank you, Commissioner. There's no other discussion. It looks like, Heather, we would do a roll call vote for this one.
Yes, in the order that you appear on my screen, first Commissioner Mendez,
Yes.
Commissioner McCahill,
No.
Alder Duncan,
No.
Commissioner Heck,
No.
Alder Field,
No.
Commissioner Spencer,
No.
and Council Vice President Figueroa Cole.
No.
Okay, I have 1 aye and 5 noes.
Okay, the motion fails. So we'll move on. Do we have another motion? Commissioner Heck.
Thank you. I'm going to try something I discussed at the previous meeting, that the Plan Commission place this item on file without prejudice.
Do we have a second? Alder Field with the second. Commissioner Heck, would you like to speak to your motion?
Please, while I do think that there's some potential here, I'm not entirely sure that we can get somewhere, but I think now that the applicants have heard our discussion and heard more from staff, I'm hoping they'll come back and come up with another idea that might move us forward. I appreciate the applicants' personal situation, and although I don't think that's how we should base our decision on his personal decision. It's really about what's best for the city, and I'm hoping we can get there. And if not, we'll see where we go.
Thank you, Commissioner. Any further discussion on the motion? Tim, yes. Or Heather, or neither.
I'll let Heather go.
Thank you. I just wanted to mention that it would be helpful if the Plan Commission could cite that the standards have not been met along with this motion. Thank you.
I'll do that. Yes. I will add that the standards have not been met for the extraterritorial lot division that has been proposed.
Thank you, Commissioner. Alderfield.
Thank you, Chair. I'll just add that I think that the proposed CSM division we're looking at would establish a development pattern that contradicts the development pattern that our future city plans will bring to this area. And that's why I'm going to support this motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderfield. If there's no further discussion, we have a motion and a second, and I will assume unanimous consent unless I see a raised hand to object. Commissioner Mendez with an objection. Everyone else in support. The motion passes. Thank you all. Okay, we are moving on to agenda items 10 and 11, which are related and will be considered as one public hearing. Agenda item 10, Legistar 81295, creating section 28.22-00665 of the Madison General Ordinance to change the zoning of property located at 2150 Marty Road, 7751 Midtown Road, and 7342 to 7362 Raymond Road from temporary agricultural district to agricultural district, and creating section 28.22-00666 of the Madison General Ordinances to change the zoning of property located at 2150 Marty Road, 7751 Midtown Road, and 7342 to 7362 Raymond Road from Temp A to TRP district, and creating section 28.22-00667 of the Madison General Ordinances to change the zoning of property located at 2150 Marty Road, 7751 Midtown Road, and 7342 to 7362 Raymond Road from Temp A to CCT, all in District 1. And agenda item 11, Legistar 81268, approving the preliminary plat of the Midpoint Meadows on property addressed as 2150 Marty Road, 7751 Midtown Road, and 7342 to 7762 Raymond Road. First, we will hear from staff. Tim.
Yes, thank you, Vice Chair, members of the commission. Here with a very exciting project on the far west side of the city, proposal by Viridian to subdivide approximately 101 acres to create the Midpoint Meadows subdivision. The request, as noted by the Vice Chair, are for approval of the rezoning of the site from Temp Ag to agricultural zoning, CCT for one lot, and then TRP to create 148 lots for future single-family residences, 96 lots for 48 two-family twin homes, side-by-side duplexes, 2 lots for future multifamily development, and various outlets for stormwater management, private open space, as well as alleys that will serve some of the lots. The property that is before the Plan Commission tonight was annexed to the city from the town of Verona, effective on December 20th, 2023. Was before the Plan Commission at your November 27th meeting, where you recommended in support of the annexation and temporary agricultural zoning. As part of the subdivision, the plat will aid in the implementation of two very important road connections, one of which has been on the books since at least 1985, the other one somewhat more recent since 1997. The first one, the north-south connection of High Point Road, which currently exists in two sections between existing Midtown Road and Raymond Road. This plat will dedicate approximately 2/3 of the right-of-way needed to complete the missing segment between Midtown and Raymond Roads. And then of equal importance is the realization of the city's long envisioned plans to connect Midtown Road to Raymond Road to create a continuous east-west arterial roadway across the east side of the city, running from the future far western edge of the city along Midtown Road, west of University Ridge Golf Course, out towards Meadow Road, and extending that through this subject property to connect to the existing arterial section of Raymond Road, which would extend all the way then to Verona Road, just a short distance south of the Beltline. So that has been a planned connection through this property since 1997. In addition, the city is in negotiations with the property owner and subdivider to acquire land on the east side of Marty Road for stormwater management purposes. The city has targeted some of the low-lying property for regional stormwater management, and this would we are working towards realizing that. That will be a separate matter that'll come to the Plan Commission potentially in the next couple of months. Just a couple of things I will share with the commission just briefly, because pictures are useful in this case. This is the overall High Point Raymond Neighborhood Development Plan, which was amended, a significant amendment that was before the Plan Commission in 2017, also known as the Jeffy Trail Affair. But we did a lot more than that with that neighborhood development plan amendment. As you can see, the plan extends significant acreage extending basically from Valley View Road at the north to McKee Road, County Trunk Highway PD at the south, basically from Elver Park to Pleasant View Road. The subject site is noted in the black outline, and just closing in on it a little bit. This is from the adopted neighborhood development plan. You can see here the planned road network as it extends through the property. Midtown Road, which extends a couple miles west of Pleasant View and has been improved partially to arterial standards as far as Jeffy Trail, would in the future be extended through the site, considering the significant topography that's present on the property, would dip south and then pick up a section of Raymond Road that is improved to urban standards east of Muirfield Road. So that is a very critical connection that has long been planned, and we're now with this plat seeing it come to fruition. Implementation of the road will occur over many years, many phases, possibly in a few iterations. But that connection will be critical in staff's opinion to making some of the mixed-use development that has been planned in this neighborhood since 1997, but struggled to come to reality because of the disconnected or disjointed road network in the area. That we feel that now these areas that are in purple further to the west of the site may actually gain some traction for commercial development in addition to residential, which we already know there's a pretty robust market for. The other connection, as I mentioned, is this missing segment of High Point Road that runs through the property. Right now, it exists south of Raymond Road, extending down to McKee, and north of Midtown. It extends all the way up to the back of Capitol Brewery in the city of Middleton. north of Old Sauk Road. So this is a pretty critical community collector that we would anticipate providing a lot of benefits once it too is extended. And then just to broaden out, again, the development that Veridian is seeking approval for south of Midtown Road, the 101 acres are everything south of Midtown. Noted in the report, highlighted in red here, and so noted, there's a lot of talk about the expansion of Alver Park. That is something that the city is also working with the subdivider and property owner on, but that is outside of the preliminary plat that's before you tonight. It's also outside of what we're seeking a zoning map approval for. But just noted for reference that long envisioned southern expansion of Alver Park to Midtown Road is being discussed and will hopefully be before the Plan Commission as part of a purchase and sales agreement here over the coming months. But again, for the purposes of tonight, the area outlined in red, not before the Plan Commission, specifically for approval. And again, just highlighting very briefly the areas that west of existing Marty Road that Veridian is proposing to develop. And this is the preliminary plat, easy to read, especially on your screen at home, which is why we're going to go right back up to this. In general, staff has worked closely with Veridian and their project team on the plans for the site. And we feel that both the layout of the subdivision and the proposed land uses and zoning can be found to be consistent with the recommendations in the High Point Raymond Neighborhood Development Plan. There is one area in particular that was highlighted in the staff report that we are going to work with Veridian on between now and when the final plat comes before you, which per condition of approval by multiple agencies will coincide with a revised preliminary plat. The area in the southwestern quadrant of the new High Point Midtown Raymond intersection, some concerns were raised about the north-south alley extending off of Midtown Road, which is a future arterial, and the traffic engineer's recommendation that if approved, it'd be a southbound one-way alley only. City staff also raised some concerns about the efficacy of having the open space adjacent to High Point Road. This is an area that in the neighborhood development plan is recommended for housing mix 4, which is the densest residential designation in the plan, ringed by housing mix 3. In this case, what's before you is a little more of a housing mix 2 development pattern, 2 family dwellings, alley accessed, working with the development team to potentially look at laying out this particular block differently. A few different options on the table could include extending D Street east to west with a corresponding alley to the north and south and a north-south lot arrangement fronting onto Midtown Road and the 2 east-west streets, or possibly swapping some of this for more of a housing mix 3 form of development, small apartments, townhouses. The development team has signaled that they certainly are willing to work with us on that, and we are certainly willing to work with them on a good solution. But again, to wrap it up, a very important project, a very complicated project, one that is going to maybe unfold a little differently than typical greenfield subdivisions, given the important connections that are planned through the property, which will involve city construction projects as well as your typical subdivider constructed streets and utility extensions. So a very complicated project, but one that we are very excited for, should be very rewarding in terms of the additional housing, the additional open spaces that are peripheral to the project, and most importantly, the connections that the project will facilitate working with the project team in the city over the next many years. So I'll stop there, and I'm happy to answer questions after the public hearing.
Thanks so much, Tim. We do have registrants, so I will open the public hearing. Heather, can you read them into the record, please?
Yes, I can. We have Brian Munson of East Lakeside Street, representing Viridian Homes.
Brian, you have 3 minutes. Hello.
Thank you. Again, Brian Munson, Van de Wall and Associates, here on behalf of Viridian Homes with something that we share Tim's excitement about. This project and this property has been long in discussion as a really critical link in the southwest side of the community. And so we're excited to be here tonight with a project that facilitates a lot of really important city goals. First off, of course, is creation of housing. This is a very diverse set of housing on a complex site, as Tim mentioned. The grade is challenging. We've got arterial roads that we're working with the city to connect, a diverse set of uses, and just really a kind of an interesting site from a design standpoint. So we're excited on that front. The other parts of this are really critical too, in that while Tim is correct, the Elver Park property expansion is not included in this plat. It is absolutely facilitated by this plat, and that Viridian is purchasing the entire parcel and is currently in conversation with the city about the potential for that 40-acre purchase by the city to expand Elver Park down to Raymond Road. The regional stormwater management sits at about 24 acres, and that's another critical piece of lessons learned over time. And so we're excited with the city to be able to work together to solve some regional stormwater components that are really critical in this area through the development of this parcel. And then, of course, last but not least, the connection of some much needed roadway extensions that have been on the books and planned for many, many years, as Tim mentioned. So we're really excited to be here with a plat that really implements many of the goals that the city places on development teams, and aspirational goals for park space, for road connections, and for diversity of housing. So we're excited to be here with a project that delivers approximately 607 units of housing in the full spectrum of housing, from multifamily down to first-time home buyer and attached single-family homes. We appreciate the time that we've had working with staff to resolve issues. And as Tim mentioned, we'll continue to work collaboratively to implement some slight adjustments to the Southwest block there that was highlighted. But overall, we're really excited to bring this forward and look forward to working with the community, with staff, and with the commissions as we move into implementation over the coming years. With me tonight is also Matt Brink from Viridian Homes and Dan Day with Nafrio Kotke. And so with that, we are happy to answer any questions that anyone might have.
Thank you, Brian. Heather, do we have additional registrants to read in?
Only the folks there to answer questions. So let me just read those in, and for the record, we have Dan Day of Westward Way, Matt Brink of Southtown Drive, and Mike Carpenter, all registered, available to answer questions. Dan Day and Matt Brink are representing Viridian Homes.
Thank you, Heather. Do we have any questions for registrants? Commissioner Heck.
Thank you. I think Brian might be able to answer this. We'll see. There's the discussion of that southwest area at the big intersection there, and reference to kind of willing to negotiate and see if you can come up with something that might be a little bit closer to the neighborhood development plan. I guess Tim mentioned a couple scenarios. I would encourage you to get as close to the neighborhood development plan as possible, if not into, the housing mix 4 category. Are you willing to at least verbally commit to working towards more so what's in the neighborhood development plan for that area?
Well, we're currently looking at a couple different configurations to try to. We're balancing a bunch of different moving parts. One of the things on these plans that's hard to portray is the grade transitions that have to happen across some of these blocks, and that's what really led us to the configuration you see here today. In that we're trying to transition within the development side, so within the twin homes, a step of 10 feet down to the alley. So we have tuck under twin homes on the west side of the block, to flat site twin homes, to another grade transition down to High Point Road. So this block, while looking fairly square and straightforward, actually does have to accommodate a bunch of different movements in there. So we're open to looking at different options to see how access could be configured, how the uses could be configured, and how that grade could be transitioned across the block. And so, as Tim mentioned, we have reached out to set up and have a meeting and discussion next week with staff to try to resolve that. And, again, we've been working through this with staff, quite a few changes that have been made to accommodate things like commercial and, the multifamily component increases to try to get as close as we can. As far as the eventual mix of uses on that block, I think our preference is to keep it in that attached single family product, because it gives us opportunities for some of the lowest price point of entry housing, but through that for sale housing. And so we think that's an important component of delivery of housing within the overall balance of the neighborhood. But it is something we'll look at closely with staff and have further conversations on.
Okay, I mean, given that you're somewhat wedded to the form of the housing, it sounds like it might be difficult to get closer to the housing mix 4 category. I guess I would just encourage you to think outside your box at least, and see if you can get more density there. But I understand what you're saying about adjacency and things. Thank you.
Appreciate that.
Are there any other questions for our registrants? Tim?
Yeah, apologies. I think I've had some technical problems. And it's been brought to my attention that we may have a couple of conditions that got Frankensteined to the wrong conditions. So we'll have to figure those out here on the fly. There's a reference to Hepker Road that I've been informed is a typo. So before we close the public hearing, I think it's fair to just, point out to the project team before we close the public hearing what those changes might be. So the reference to Hepker Road is clearly a mistake. And it's possible that condition 21 can be eliminated altogether. There's references to the creating or the, oh boy, lots of conditions here. So condition 23 in the staff report, I think might be okay. Condition 22 has a comma except Midtown Raymond Roads, which will be explained in other conditions, which should be at the end of condition 20. Condition 21, I believe, should be struck. Condition 23 is okay, and I think that might be it. And I should also point out that Chris Pedikowski from the City Engineering Division is on the call. And he might be able to clarify some of the errors that are in my report, which I think have to do with my transposing conditions in the wee small hours of the evening.
Thank you, Tim. Chris, would you like to add anything to that?
Yes, thank you. I'm sorry, I'm trying to do this on the fly as well. I believe the Hepker Road, the 21, Okay, so 22. No, 21 is can be struck, and then there is our standard site distance comment that we put in every plat. I think was missed. Is pretty generic, but would you like me to read it? I think
that
add
would be
okay.
helpful just in case the applicants have questions.
Okay, so the comment is confirm that adequate site distance exists where public streets intersect per AASHTO design standards for intersection site distance. If adequate site distance does not exist, change the location of the street intersection or agree to make improvements to the roadways such that the site distance is achieved or make mitigating improvements as required by the city. Caution, the improvements indicated may require right of way outside of the plat/CSM.
Is it fair to summarize that condition 21 is struck and the condition that you read aloud is added in, and otherwise the rest is correct?
I believe so, and I'm just scanning the rest of the comments right now. Yes.
I'll just note that the AASHTO site distance comment is in as number 37.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It showed up late in the agency report.
Yeah.
We're
sorry, I was just scrambling.
We're building the plane mid-flight, and I think it's not on Chris, it's on me. So we're building the plat mid-flight, I guess. So that's on me because I think I reused something that had a condition that we don't need, and now we're kind of just trying to make it right as we go. So the AASHTO condition is 37. The references to Hepker Road can be eliminated. And I think, and the Midtown Raymond comment in 22 actually belongs at the end of 20 because we have conditions related to that, but I'm trying to, go back through the comments to make sure that I'm not missing something.
Mm-hmm. So it sounds like 21 is struck and 22 should be added to the end of 20.
So there's one other, Tim, that I'm not. Oh, never mind. Sorry, I see it. Okay, yeah, I'm done. Sorry. I think that covers it.
Well, I appreciate you getting these on the record now versus tomorrow morning when it would I would still be embarrassed, but not on live TV.
Thank you all. Can I ask if Brian is on or someone else from the applicant team just to confirm that they understand their discussion? I see Brian there.
Yes, that's fine. Totally understandable. And I think that clarifies. We wondered about the Hepker Road, but glad to see that's clarified. So
thank you, Brian. I appreciate it. Any other questions of registrants? See none, I'll close the public hearing. And any further questions for staff? Commissioner Heck.
Thank you. These are for Tim. I've got a few questions. I see reference in the staff report to a mixed use overlay, and I didn't find anything about an overlay in the neighborhood development plan, but maybe there was different wording used or something. Can you explain what that is?
Yeah, there's two. There's a main area. And actually, maybe I should bring the plan back up here. It's very difficult to see, and actually it is so garbled that it doesn't even come through on the graphic. So there's a large area of mixed use that's recommended at basically extending from Waldorf Boulevard west to Pleasant View Road. where future development should be community mixed use or neighborhood mixed use development, with commercial uses in particular close to the Pleasant View Midtown intersection. There are areas also identified, and unfortunately it doesn't come through very well on the map that's on the screen, but there is a potential mixed use overlay that applies to the northeast and southeast quadrants of the new Midtown Raymond High Point intersection. So these two parcels here, imagine if you will, that they have purple slashing on them to signify that there is the potential for neighborhood mixed use. And the plan is very intentional that at both this location and at another location closer to, I believe it's on the Mullins property north of Midtown Commons. I don't recall exactly where, but there is another location in addition to these two nodes at Midtown Raymond High Point for neighborhood mixed use, and it's encouraged. It's not required. So the applicant is requesting CCT zoning for lot 246, which is what would be the northeastern corner of the new intersection, to realize that neighborhood mixed use overlay. But basically the language in the plan calls for the tenants for neighborhood mixed use to apply at those areas where it's encouraged. So if there's going to be CCT zoning here, it should reflect the recommendations for neighborhood mixed use.
Okay, thank you. So that will come about in a future rezoning potentially.
No, the CCT is being requested tonight.
Oh, right. Okay.
So the three large parcels on the east side of High Point Road, the northeast quadrant, CCT, and then TRP for the multifamily development for lots 245 and 247.
Right. Okay, got it. Thank you. Just a couple other quick questions. I should probably know this, but what will Transportation Commission be involved in any future consideration of this final platting? Or are they more involved in the neighborhood development plan process?
I could try on this, and I'll also defer to Chris, who spends a lot more time at Transportation Commission than I do. The good news that we have right now is Transportation Commission does not have to review the preliminary plat because there are no exceptions being sought to the Complete Green Streets Guide. That would be a trigger to get Transportation Commission to review the project sooner. As far as when we start getting into more specifics about the roads, really every road throughout the subdivision, but in particular the east-west arterial and the High Point connection, Transportation Commission will be reviewing those more specific plans.
Okay, so that's before it goes to Public Works, when it's actually going to happen, is when that step would occur. Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Chris. And
Yes.
Tim, one more question. Sorry. There was mention in a public comment that we had in via email about our potentially taking ag land out of circulation for this platting and rezoning, and that our goal is, one of our city goals is to preserve ag land, but we still don't have a requirement to do such a thing. It's a goal that we should strive for, I believe, but there's no requirement to set aside ag land, correct?
That's correct. And in the case of the subject site, the land west of Marty Road, south of Midtown Road, has been planned for mostly residential development for approaching 30 years. The neighborhood development plan was first approved in 1997. So there's been residential development called for on this very property for over 25 years, approaching 30 years. And while there's other open space that's part of the subdivision, that none of it has been identified for long-term agricultural preservation.
Okay, thanks. Sorry, but that brings up another question that Heather will probably want to weigh in on. In our planning areas that the city is currently working on, I assume that occasionally the need to preserve ag land could come up in those processes, so that they do start percolating throughout the many years that it takes to implement a plan. I assume that could be the case, or
That could be the case. One recent example is the Reiner neighborhood development plan on the far northeast side, where the council ultimately approved that plan with notes that in a certain area, land could remain agricultural, and the fact that it would be agricultural and not have urban services through it would not impede the orderly development of the rest of the plan area. And so we're trying to find areas that by their, if it's a large swath of land and it were to remain agricultural, we would need to find as a city that it wouldn't impede our orderly development. And so that's somewhat of a challenge, but we are able to find, small and mid-scale properties occasionally that are very well suited to remain agricultural. But it's not likely to be common in our area plans, likely the exception.
Thank you. Even though I'm no longer a policymaker, I wanted to just make sure that hasn't just been pushed aside. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Sollner, I haven't even had a chance to welcome you yet, but welcome to the commission. We're glad to have you, and go ahead with your questions. You have to unmute yourself.
Sure. Thank you. Yeah, it's good to be here. It's all very new for me, but I have an outdated map in my office, which is why you see me kind of slide out of the video and then back. I'm trying to figure out, this is an area that's part of our long-term boundary agreements in terms of the district. So I'm wondering, I was kind of scanning through the reports, do we ever specify the districts that's going to be serving the development? And if not, how do I'm going to get these addresses and check our maps with our data people, but I'm just curious on the school districts that are going to serve the development, 607 units of housing.
Sure.
All right. Yeah. Thank you.
It's our understanding that the agreement that Madison Metropolitan School District has with the Verona Area School District, that the residential properties here will transition from Verona to Madison. The one exception might be the commercial parcel. That agreement, I believe, dates back to the late 1990s. And at the time, I believe Verona wanted to maintain the commercial properties. So again, our understanding is that some or all of this will transition. Don't know exactly when. And that is a process that lies beyond the city's consideration. It's between the two school districts, and there's a process that's administered by Department of Public Instruction where the two districts have to pass resolutions annexing and detaching, as the case might be, and there has to be mutual agreement, and then that goes to DPI, and I believe it would take effect on July 1st of the year that they petition for that border change. But the city doesn't have a specific role in those boundary changes between the school districts. And I see that Heather may have more.
Yeah, no, that was great context, Bob. I just wanted to mention for you and for other commissioners that the place where that's called out in our staff reports is under the background information, and this will be on page 2. I'm just going to pull it up here under parcel location, and so there are some details in almost a paragraph in this case, and that includes the school district. Usually it's just in one school district. So this one has more detail that Tim just described, but that's where you'll find that.
Thank you. Are there any other questions for staff? If there are no further questions, I'll be looking for a motion. Alder Duncan.
I move that the Plan Commission forward the zoning map rezoning 2150 Marty Road, 7751 Midtown Road, and 7342 through 7762 Raymond Road from Temp A to A, TRP, and CCT to the Common Council for approval, with the conditions that are listed in the staff report, as well as those conditions that have been clarified during the public hearing.
Thank you, Alder. And seconded by Alder Field. Would you like to add comments to your motion, Alder Duncan?
No, being the alder of this district, I'm very excited about this project. I think, as Brian stated, this is going to bring diverse housing to this area on the far west side. I do hope that Veridian does work with staff and make sure that they can get as close to the High Point neighborhood plan as possible when they are discussing that piece there. And I think that was the southwest corner of the area. But I'm excited to work with them and look forward to this project moving forward.
Thank you, Alder. Any further discussion? Seeing none, we will come to a vote, and I will assume unanimous consent unless I see a raised hand to object. Seeing none, the motion passes unanimously, and we'll move on to a motion for agenda item 11. Alder Duncan.
Yeah, this one might be a little bit harder. I recommend that we approve the TRP master plan for the Mid Meadows subdivision in the District 1.
Seconded by Alder Field. Would you like to speak to your motion?
Nope.
Any further discussion on the motion for the preliminary plat approval? Seeing none, we will come to a vote, and I will assume unanimous consent unless I see a raised hand to object. Seeing no raised hands, the motion passes unanimously. Thank you all. Moving on then to business by members. So welcome again, Commissioner Soldner. It's great to have MMSD representation on the commission. Appreciate you joining. Any other business by members? Then we'll have the secretary's report.
Thank you, Vice Chair Solheim. Wanted to mention that at the recent Common Council meeting, the Madison College downtown site, the rezoning and conditional use at that site for a new 11-story mixed-use building was approved, consistent with your recommendation, as was annexation of nearly 160 acres from the town of Westport. And when we look forward to our late February meeting, the item that I'll mention here is the demolition of a collection of buildings on West Mifflin Street near Fairchild. And then on March 11th, we'll have a variety of items. First, redevelopment of a site at 521 University Avenue with a demolition of the existing restaurant tavern and construction of a 12-story mixed-use building. The Center for Black Excellence at 633 to 711 West Badger Road will be coming to the commission on March 11th for a demolition permit of the existing building, rezoning, and a certified survey map for that project, which ultimately will be a permitted use in the new zoning district. And then finally, on the far west side, another new primarily residential plat with 59 single-family lots and 17 lots for a variety of multifamily development along Mineral Point Road. That's what we have ahead of us. Look forward to seeing you in late February. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Heather. that, I will look for a motion to adjourn. So moved by Alder Field. Do I have a second? Seconded by Commissioner Mendez. I will assume unanimous consent unless I see a raised hand. And the motion passes. Thank you all. Have a good night.